August 20th, 1979, a man found skeletal remains on the Alaskan highway near the town of Tok, Alaska. He immediately notified police. Police searched around the area and found most of the skeletal remains, which had been ravaged by animals, except for the lower jaw, which was never found. A forensic examination revealed the victim was male and had signs of stab wounds. Soon, police would identify a suspect who was already in custody in Nevada. The suspect, Jesse Burt Bishop, confessed to murdering a hitchhiker in Alaska in September of 1978. When questioned by police, Bishop agreed to provide the details that he knew about the hitchhiker. According to him, he picked up the victim near Boise, Idaho, while on his way to Alaska. The victim had asked him for a ride to Pendleton, Oregon, but when Bishop told him he was heading to Alaska, the victim asked if he could accompany him. He said that while on their way, the victim got on his nerves and that he decided to kill him. Once they reached Alaska, Bishop said he stopped his car at a remote location on the highway and stabbed and strangled the man before dumping him in the nearby woods. Bishop told the police that the victim had told him that he had worked as a logger in Oregon for some time. He said that the victim had an Oregon driver's license, but that he did not remember his name since he had thrown his driver's license out after the murder. He believed his name was either Jack or John. The victim also mentioned that he was working as a car washer at a Lincoln car dealership in Colorado or Utah. Bishop described him as about 32 years old, around 6 feet tall, and about 165 pounds, and said that he was a smoker. The victim had long dark hair and wore a headband. Bishop also told police that the victim had worn an eye patch and that he believed he had lost his eye in a logging incident. The victim had also mentioned that he was married at some point, but according to his murderer, he wasn't sure if the information was accurate, as he said the victim lied a lot. Jesse Burt Bishop would be sentenced to life in prison for the murder and died in 2003. Police were unsure if the details provided by Bishop were accurate, but the clothing information that Bishop provided matched the clothes found at the crime scene. At the crime scene, police had found a dark leather eye patch and a piece of scalp with long brown hair attached to it. They also found a white marble that was likely used as a fake eye by the victim. They also found 2 packs of Winston cigarettes and 3 books of matches. Despite the information available, the police were never able to positively identify the victim. According to the medical examiner, the victim may have been between the ages of 19 and 39, was of Caucasian descent, about 6 feet tall, and may have weighed between 65 and 185 pounds. A composite sketch of the victim was released by police, but so far he is yet to be identified. Tara Lynn Smith was a 16-year-old homecoming princess studying at Central Valley High School. She lived with her parents and her 3 siblings on Tarsi Way in Redding in Shasta, California. On August 22, 1998, Tara told her parents that she was going out for a jog and left the house at around 6 p.m. She was scheduled for a shift at her work, the Oasis Fun Center, at 7 p.m. However, she never showed up to her shift, and when she did not return home that night, she was reported missing. While going through Tara's room, her parents found letters and journal entries, which indicated that Tara was romantically involved with her martial arts instructor, Troy Zink. Troy Zink was a 29-year-old married man with a son. 16-year-old Tara had joined his martial arts classes some time back with a friend. Tara's parents found love letters exchanged between she and Zink. Zink had apparently asked Tara to keep the affair a secret as he could go to jail due to their age difference. Tara's parents provided the letters and her journal to the police. The police interviewed Zink, and he told police that on the day Tara went missing, she had called him during the early evening hours and had asked him to meet her near her home at around 6:30 p.m. He claimed that when they met, Tara asked him for $2,000 and became angry when he refused. He said that she then asked him to drop her off at the intersection of Old Alarutas Road and Old Oregon Trail. Zink claimed he drove to Hang Glider Hill alone to pray after dropping her off at the intersection. He said he returned to his home 5 hours later at around 11:30 p.m. He denied involvement in Tara's disappearance and maintained that there was no inappropriate relationship between them. He claimed that Tara had written him a letter weeks earlier, stating that she was planning on running away from her home. Tara's parents do not believe this, as according to them, Tara was a typical teenager, and although she had some personal problems, nothing would have led her to run away forever. Based on the journal entries found, they believe their daughter was planning on ending her relationship with Zink. They think that she met with him on that evening to end her affair. Police searched Zink's house, his truck, and his martial arts studio, but did not find anything that tied him to Tara's disappearance. However, they did find 7 guns inside his home, which he claimed belonged to his father. Zink was already a convicted felon for marital rape of his wife back in 1990, for which he'd spent about 1 year in jail. He was charged with gun possession by a felon and sentenced to 4 years in prison. Zink has refused to cooperate with police after the initial police interview. Despite all outward evidence that Troy Zink had an affair with an underage girl and his very own student, and despite the fact that he was admittedly the last person to see Tara alive, Zink has never been officially named as a suspect in Tara's disappearance, as police claim they have not located enough evidence. While a number of searches and interviews have been carried out, Tara remains missing to this day. Her parents still reside in Redding, California, and ask anyone with knowledge of their daughter's fate to come forward by contacting the Shasta County Sheriff's Office at 530-245-6025, or you can contact the unrecorded and anonymous tip line at 530-243-2319. Isaac Hughes, 70, and James Arthur Waite, 50, were 2 friends living in Rifle Green in Blaenavon, Wales. Arthur was a minor and had been close friends with Isaac for many years. Isaac was married but was living apart from his wife. He moved to Rifle Green in February of 1972. The two were drinking companions and would often spend their time at a pub called Rifleman's Arms. On April 2, 1972, Isaac and Arthur spent their day drinking and eating at Rifleman's Arms. At around 11 p.m., the pair left the pub after it closed for the night. The pair then went to Isaac's home, which was only 100 meters away from the pub. This would be the last time they were ever seen alive. The following day, Isaac's brother tried contacting him, but couldn't get a hold of him. 2 days later, after several failed attempts of getting in touch with Isaac, his brother decided to use a ladder in order to enter Isaac's home through his bedroom window. Upon making his way to the living room, he came upon a grisly sight. Isaac was lying on the sofa while his friend Arthur was sitting in an armchair. There was blood everywhere, and both men had been bludgeoned to death. He immediately called police. Investigating the crime scene, police theorized that Arthur had been the first to be killed. They thought that the killer had probably walked behind Arthur and bludgeoned him on the left side of the head. The killer then continued to bludgeon him 15 times, even though police believe the first strike probably killed him, as they did not find any defensive wounds. Police believe Isaac tried to stop the killer but was struck in the head. Police believe that the pair knew their killer and had probably invited them into the house. An autopsy revealed that both Isaac and Arthur had empty stomachs, even though they had been eating and drinking at the pub since 2 p.m. on April 2nd. Due to this evidence, the pathologist believed that they were killed sometime the following morning. Arthur was known to crash at Isaac's home on weekends, so it was speculated that they were killed the morning after, rather than during the night, as previously thought. There were some inconsistencies regarding Isaac's cause of death. Police believed that Isaac had died from blunt force trauma, but according to the pathologist, Isaac had choked on his own vomit. A confusing fact, as according to the pathologist himself, Isaac did not have anything in his stomach to vomit. Police now believed that Isaac survived being struck in the head. Realizing that he was still alive, they think that the killer probably asphyxiated him by placing a pillow over his mouth. Police set up a mobile investigation headquarters outside of the police station and started with door-to-door inquiries regarding the case. Robbery was ruled out as a motive, as nothing from the house appeared to have been taken. Police also investigated an Irish family who had stayed at Isaac's home about 3 days before he was killed. The Irish family had met Isaac at the pub and had paid him for one night's accommodation. The family left the next day for London. They were soon cleared as they were still in London on the day Isaac and Arthur were killed. Police would later release a picture of a man seen loitering near the crime scene in the days before the murders. The police also received a tip regarding a call that had come to a home about a quarter of a mile away from the crime scene, asking them for the address of Isaac's house. The caller did not get the answer they were looking for, and they hung up. The murder weapon would never be found. Police have investigated a number of suspects over the years, but none have ever been charged. The case remains open and unsolved for 50 years. Riina Makinen was a 19-year-old woman living in Helsinki, Finland. She had just graduated as a youth and leisure instructor and was looking for a permanent job. But on May 10, 2017, she vanished without a trace. She was last seen with a 32-year-old male, whose name has not been revealed to the public. This was a man she had met through a mutual acquaintance and had been dating for the past 2 months prior to her disappearance. According to police report, on the day of her disappearance, that man was driving his Opel Vectra in Mirskila when he saw a boat on a trailer parked in open farmland. He then decided to steal it. He then towed the trailer with the boat for more than 30 kilometers and parked it next to a remote radio tower on Heskerente Road in Loviisa, Finland. He planned on returning to the trailer and boat later in the evening. Police say it is unclear why the man did not take the trailer with him and instead decided to leave it at the remote location. Investigators say that the man then headed to Helsinki and picked Riina up, at which time both headed to Loviisa to get the trailer, which had the boat on it. According to the man's statement, on his way to get the boat with Riina, he realized that he had forgotten the location of the trailer and ended up lost in an isolated area. He claims that his car then got stuck in the mud and that he tried to get it out by accelerating with all the power the car had, but says that instead of freeing the car from the wet mud with this action, it somehow caused the car to catch fire. Riina and the man got out of the car and sought shelter behind a rock as the man had gun cartridges in the car, which had started to explode as the car was engulfed in flames. A man who had been walking his dog heard what he thought to be gunshots from rifles of deer hunters. At first, he thought it was simply a hunter shooting at a deer, but when the shots continued, he decided to check it out. Soon, he found the burnt car and the pair at the scene. The witness said that the man asked him if he had a car and if he could give them a ride. He refused as he did not feel safe letting them into his vehicle. He later told police that the woman had a glazed look on her face and seemed to be frightened. The witness left the scene and later called police himself. The police arrived at the scene about half an hour after the phone call, but found it to be empty. The pair seemed to have left the scene. The 32-year-old man would later be arrested while trying to steal candy from a gas station in Loviisa. However, Riina was not with him. The man was also carrying an unauthorized pistol with him at the time of his arrest, an FN Baby Browning. He had apparently hid the pistol on a shelf at the gas station when he saw the police coming. He told police he had bought the pistol for self-defense. Sometime around this time, Riina was reported missing after she had failed to return to her home. A massive search investigation was launched for her. The man was interrogated by police, and he told them that when they had arrived at the scene to investigate the burnt car on the day that Riina had disappeared, the pair had actually not left the scene but had been hiding all along. He said after the police left the scene, Riina had an argument with him regarding drugs and the situation itself. He said Riina then left him and walked in the direction of a nearby road. He claimed that he has not seen her since. He claims that he spent the night in the woods and that the next day he made his way to the gas station, and that's when police arrested him for stealing. The police checked CCTV cameras at the gas station and confirmed that the man was alone when he arrived. However, his actions in the hours prior to that are wholly unknown. The man had a criminal history, and 2 months after Riina disappeared, the man was convicted for 1 year in jail for at least 26 crimes that he'd committed between the years of 2016 and 2017. The long list of charges includes various thefts, burglaries, frauds, and drunk driving. Police investigated the area where the car was burnt and found Rina's makeup bag. Her phone was also found inside the car, but was too badly burnt to investigate. Police searched around the woods, but could not find any clues which would help them in their investigation. As there is no evidence directly linking him to Rina's disappearance, the man is not considered a suspect, but he has not been ruled out either. Over the years, numerous searches have been conducted in and around the area where Rina was last seen, but to no avail. Police have considered the possibility that Rina could have hitched a ride from the nearby road, but was then kidnapped. However, with no leads, the case remains open and unsolved.